everybody? It's your boy Gsluke here for our round 4 prize picks preview for this week's RBC Canadian Open. Going to tough it out once again. Real quick video going over my top 5 props here for Sunday's round. There's no live golf here on Sunday, just the PGA Tour. So we'll be focusing on what we expect from St. George's Country Club and of course my top props for tomorrow's slate. In terms of our success so far this week, we've hit on 2 of our 4 cards. One of them ended up being a 1.25x card, so really 3 of 4, but I'm not going to count that. So overall, hasn't been the worst week, but just waiting to hit for that big card. It's been 1 miss pretty much every single day. Today it was 2 misses. Didn't end up hitting on today's card, but given we've been so close the last few times out, I know a big win is coming here soon. So excited here for Sunday. Going to talk about the golf course and then, like I said, our top props for the slate. So let's go ahead, not waste any time at all, and hop right on into it. Alrighty, taking a look at the stats, you can see that round 3 played significantly easier than the first 2 rounds, which might have been a little bit surprising to say the least. They moved up the tee boxes on 5 of the 18 holes. We're also dealing with relatively lenient pin locations that weren't tucked towards one side or the other, and also weren't on very sloped areas. So as a result, all the par 5s played significantly under par, that being holes 9, 11, and hole 15. Also, some of the easier par 4s, like what we have on the back 9, including holes 10, 12, and 13, were extremely gettable compared to the first 2 rounds. If we take a look at the scoring average, not only was it close to 2 shots higher, a lot of those gettable holes on the back 9 played over par, and frankly, that's what I would expect here for the last round. It was moving day. They wanted the players to have a chance to move up the leaderboard, but now that they've done all that moving, expect things to get a little bit more difficult here for the last round. So I'm expecting a scoring average closer to maybe right around even par. I wouldn't expect it to be a whole shot over par like we saw for the first 2 days, because we do have a higher quality of player here on the weekend. A lot of those amateurs, lower tier players that were there on Thursday and Friday, of course, didn't make it to the weekend. So as a result, just a few less outliers to worry about with the scoring average. So still easier conditions than what we saw for Thursday and Friday, but certainly a little bit more difficult than what we saw here for Saturday. The weather is very similar to what we saw for Saturday. It's low winds for most of the day, a few wind gusts towards the early AM hours, a little bit of rain in the forecast for the entire day. But on Saturday, we had a similar chance of rain, and it never ended up coming through. So I don't know if it's anything we should actively act on, just something to keep in the back of your mind that there might be a delay or 2 tomorrow. But outside of that, not all that much wind to worry about. So with all of that in mind, what are the props that I have my eyes on? And frankly, let's start with our 2 fades, which are my favorite props on the board. It's going to be for Tony Finau and Matt Fitzpatrick, where I'm taking the under on birdies or better. Both are at 4.5. Both are towards the top of the leaderboard. Of course, Tony Finau tied for first at -11, and then you have Matt Fitzpatrick at -6. And while both are solid plays, people that I had plenty of exposure this week in most formats, I worry about how aggressive they're going to play. So here on Sunday, both have a lot more incentive to make a whole lot of pars tomorrow than they do to go out there and make a whole bunch of birdies. Add in the fact that the pin locations should be a lot more difficult. The gettable par 3, it was only 147 yards. It's going to play closer to 200 yards tomorrow. And of course, that drivable hole number 10, not going to be drivable anymore. So for them to get to 5-6 birdies, the number they need to burn us here, it's going to be a much more difficult task. Even if they take apart all 3 par 5s, they take apart the one quote-unquote easy par 4, which is going to play closer to 390 yards tomorrow rather than the 320 that it did today. As a result, I have them projected for closer to 3.7 and 3.8 birdies apiece. I mean, just well below their projections. So something that I'm willing to get to. In fact, a lot of the guys at 5 birdies, I'd be willing to fade them too. In fact, almost the entire birdie board, I'd be taking the under on. It's just, I feel as if they're expecting the golf course to play easier than it's going to, and I'm not expecting it to play as easy as it did on Saturday. I mean, the pin locations, the tee boxes that were moved up, that is going to cause a huge difference in the scoring. It should get firmer and faster throughout the weekend, as we see at most golf courses. I see it going in the opposite direction. So a lot of fades I'd be willing to take there. But like I said, Tony Finau at the top of the leaderboard, not going to be the most aggressive player here. And Matt Fitzpatrick, more of a par specialist. Anyways, not an extremely high birdie or better percentage player. Is kind of known for his track record in difficult conditions as opposed to his track record when conditions are right for the taking. And now lastly, the two quote-unquote unders I'm taking, right? The guys that I'm actually supporting are going to be Justin Thomas and Shane Lowry. So Justin Thomas at 67.5 strokes. He's my pick to win this event. I expect him to go out there tomorrow, make a run up the leaderboard. Given how well he played here on Saturday, I don't think that's too far-fetched. He was hitting a ton of fairways. The approach play was #1 in the field, and he was even draining his fair share of putts. So I like the momentum that we saw, and even with more difficult conditions, he's one of the few players I'm not worried about. He's one of the best players around the green that we've ever seen in PGA Tour history, frankly. I mean, with his wedge, we can get up and down from pretty much no matter the location, which I'm expecting to be extremely useful tomorrow in crunch time. So I haven't projected for closer to 67 strokes, which isn't all that much lower than the 67.5 that we have him at. But considering it's Justin Thomas, he's an elite level player, somebody I'm still willing to get to. And now lastly, we have Shane Lowry at 68.5 strokes. And while I don't think he shoots like 5-6 under par tomorrow, I don't think he's going to go out there and threaten the top of the leaderboard. He's somebody who, much like a Justin Thomas, is an elite level around the green player. One of the best players at saving par in tomorrow. If he can go out there, take advantage of the few easy holes they have, which I'm expecting that to be 4, maybe 5 holes tomorrow. If he can get 2 or 3 birdies on those holes and just keep it together on the other 14 or 15, that's going to get the job done. And to this point, Shane Lowry has done a very solid job in doing so. Most of the days would have hit the under on the scorecard. I believe in 2 out of the 3 rounds so far has shot a 68 or better. And I would expect him to go out there and have a similar level of success here on Sunday. Now for the fun part. I don't know whether you should do this as a power or a flex play. Personally, I'm going to be putting it in as a power play at a 12.5x payout, but we can get 7.5x for a flex. So it's kind of tempting to go there and try and take apart that payout. So obviously with your own risk tolerance, how confident you guys are in the picks that we're taking here, make the best decision for your own portfolio. That's all I've got for the round 4 picks. Before you hop on out of here, go ahead and let me know what your favorite prop on the board is down in the comments. As per usual, I appreciate all the support here as well. Make sure you like the video before you hop on out of here. And also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That way you don't miss any of the content when it drops in the future. Of course, next week is the US Open. Going to have you covered from a course breakdown perspective, DFS perspective, prize picks, and showdown over the weekend. So a lot of content coming in the future. Really excited for next week at Brookline. Best of luck with all of your lineups for this week, and let's get this cash, guys.